which are only to be acquired by progressive labor, and that on a great quantity of materials. Let us refer, for example, to the preparation of hides. What laborer can pursue all the particular things necessary to those operations, which continue several months, sometimes several years? If he is able to do it, can he do it with a single hide? What a loss of time, of room, and of materials, which might be employed either at the same time or successively to tan a large quantity of skins. But should he even succeed in manning a single skin, and wants one pair of shoes, what will he do with the remainder? Will he kill an ox to make this pair of shoes? Will he cut down a tree to make a pair of wooden shoes? We may say the same thing of every other want of every other man, who, if he was reduced to his field and the labor of his own hands, would waste much time, take much trouble, be very badly equipped in every respect, and would also cultivate his lands very ill. 4. The necessity of these preparations bring on the exchange of productions for labor. The same motive which has established the exchange of commodity for commodity between the cultivators of land of different natures has also necessarily brought on the exchange of commodities for labor between the cultivators and another portion of society, who shall have preferred the occupation of preparing and completing the productions of the earth to the cultivation of it. Every one profits by this arrangement, for every one attaching himself to a peculiar species of labor succeeds much better therein. The husbandman draws from his field the greatest quantity it is able to produce, and procures to himself with greater facility all the other objects of his wants, by an exchange of his superflux than he could have done by his own labor. The shoemaker, by making shoes for the husbandman, secures to himself a portion of the harvest of the latter. Every workman labors for the wants of the workmen of every other trade, who on their side toil also for him. 5. Preeminence of the husbandman who produces over the artificer who prepares. The husbandman is the first mover in the circulation of labor. It is he who causes the earth to produce the wages of every artificer. It must, however, be observed that the husbandman, furnishing every one with the most important and the most considerable objects of their consumption, I mean their food and the materials of almost all manufactures, has the advantage of a greater degree of independence. His labor among the different species of labor, appropriated to the different members of society, supports the same preeminence and priority as the procuring of food did among the different works he was obliged in his solitary state to employ himself in order to minister to his wants of every kind. This is not a preeminence of honor or of dignity, but of physical necessity. The husbandman can, generally speaking, subsist without the labor of other workmen, but no other workman can labor, if the husbandman does not provide him wherewith to exist. It is this circulation which, by a reciprocal exchange of wants, renders mankind necessary to each other, and which forms the bond of society. It is therefore the labor of the husbandman which gives the first movement. What his industry causes the earth to produce beyond his personal wants is the only fund for the wages, which all the other members of society receive in recompense for their toil. The latter, by availing themselves of the produce of this exchange to purchase in their turn the commodities of the husbandman, only return to him precisely what they have received. There is here a very essential difference between the two species of labor, on which it is necessary to reflect, and to be well assured of the ground on which they stand, before we trust to the innumerable consequences which flow from them. End of passages 1 through 5. Passages 6 through 10 of Reflections on the Formation and Distribution of Wealth. 6. The wages of the workman is limited by the competition among those who work for subsistence. He only gains a livelihood. The mere workman who depends only on his hands and his industry has nothing but such part of his labor as he is able to dispose of to others. He sells it at a cheaper or a dearer price, but this high or low price does not depend